This is learning in Parshas Pekudei, but in Pekudei, which is an interesting thing, even though Torah is for Chumash, Breishis, and Shmais, and Pekudei starts in Vayikra, but for some reason it starts a little bit of the Shalach in Pekudei and Pekudei. And actually, this Maimer happens to be a famous Maimer, the one that we're going to learn, the first Maimer of Pekudei, certain inyonim about Mitzvah Leisaseh, which is the mocker of this inyan that Mitzvah Leisaseh are Mamshech Hamshochas, which normally we know the opposite. We know it says in you get a Satshuva that Mitzvah Leisaseh is Mitzvah Essay is Mamshech Hamshochas. When you do a mitzvah, you mamshech. Mitzvah Leisaseh means if you're over, you're blocking Hamshocha, you're ruining it, but you're not. It doesn't seem like you're mamshech anything. That's why it says that God doing tshuva, etc. But Lepeil in this Maimer, he brings out the Maila of Leisa so that it reaches a higher madrega. So let's start the pasuk. Eilep Pekudei Mishkan Mishkan Eivis v'Gemer. The pasuk starts. This is the counting of the Mishkan of testimony. You do akusha b'm kroy seilu. It's known the kasha in these psukim. Eimre, why does he say Mishkan Shnei Pamim? Why does he say the Mishkan twice? Should have said, Rashi actually has the Shaila. Should have said, Eilep Pekudei Mishkan Eidos. This is the counting of the Mishkan Eidos. Why did they say, this is the counting of the Mishkan? And then he describes what is the Mishkan. The Mishkan is the Mishkan Eidos. The Gam Ashekosef Asher Pukad Al Pi Meishe. It says, which was commanded Al Pi Meishe. Havel Meiman Asher Pukad Meishe. It's very simple. That Meishe commanded, that Meishe was Peked. It was Pukad through Meishe. It's a very roundabout way of saying things. The Gam Eimrei also, why does he say Avedas HaLevim? Why does he mention the Aved of the Levim? Ma'inyan Avedas HaLevim, what is the inyan of the Aved of the Levim? Shehoyse b'masois, Lisas HaMishkan, the Aved of the Levim was mainly to carry the Mishkan. Ma shayach zeh of Pekudei HaMishkan. What is connection to Pekudei HaMishkan? We're counting how the Mishkan was made, the Kalim and the Matanas, the Trumas that they gave, the Nedavas that they gave. What's it got to do with Avedas HaLevim? What's the Avedas HaLevim? The Gam, another kasha, Mashikosav Avedas HaLevim b'yad Summer. Why does it say this is Aveda the Levim in the hands of Isomer? Isomer took care of part of Shaded Leib. Was the head, the Nossi, was the Yad. Isomer is one, but then Eliezer was another. So why does it mention only here the Isomer, not the Lozer? These are the kashas. The Inyan is like this. The Mishkan is really the fact that the Shechina rested amongst the It says, make me a Mishkan, beginning of the Pasuk. Also the Mikdash, so the union of the Mikdash is that the Shechina should rest amongst the Yidden. By the way, this is especially according to the Rambam, because there's a machlekes in the Rambam and the Ramban. The Ramban holds that the Ikar of the Mishkan is for Karbonis. And Mikdash, Mishkan, and the Rambam learns that the main thing of the Mishkan was, the Rambam learns it's for Karbonis, and the Ramban learns it's mainly for the Hashras HaShechina. So this fits when the Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe says that the Mishkan is Hashras HaShechina. It's for everybody, according to the Rambam also, but mainly he holds it's for Karbonis. Anyway, so we see that the Mishkan is Hashras HaShechina by Yidden. We see that it says, Heichal Havaya Heimo. There's a pasuk that says, actually in the pasuk it says 3 times the word Heichal Havaya Heimo. Heichal Havaya Heimo means that the Yidden are the Heichal of Hashem, which means the Yidden are the ones in which the Shekhinah rests. Heichal Hashem, the Heichal means this is the house of who? Of Hashem. It's a Heichal of Hashem. And it says Heimo, the Yidden are the Heichal of Hashem. That means that the Yidden, the Eibush, that Hashem rests among the Yidden. This is what the Razal say, that Hashem desired to have a Dira B'Tachtainim, which actually is written concerning the Mishkan, the Mikdash and the Mishkan. Even though Chassidus brings this always, not only the Gei the Mishkan, it brings Bechlal, the Kavanah of the Eibishter in Brias Ha'olam Bechlal is to make a Dira Le'izbara. But specifically, this was said in the Medrash concerning the Mishkan. So we have to understand what do you mean that the Mishkan was a place that the Eibishter has a dira. That's his, so to speak, his house. Even without the Mishkan, it says, I feel Shemayim V'Oreh. So the Eibishter is there anyway. So he's all over. When you chat, the Eibishter is in the Mishkan. Chat is like this. When we say that this Mishkan should be a dira to the Eibishter, the Eibishter is all over. But it's not the Giluim. And the Mishkan is a place where the Eibishter is the Gilui. Behind the B'tachtenim Dafken. The Eibishter wants to be the Gilui down here in this world, the way it's in the lower world. Irish Tachtenim, when it says that he wants to Dira B'tachtenim, he wants to live in this world, Ein Ratzalaim, but it doesn't mean B'mok, that there's a Mokim in the world because he's limited to the Mokim. He wants a specific place in this world. Like it says in a Mokim Iti. And see this always dashes on the posting Mokim Iti. That means the Mokim is bottled to me. The Eibishter is not mukbal to the Mokim, but the Mokim is toffel. Iti means with. The Gemara says like a certain psukim es toffel b'sorah. It says b'negeya le'yochel es b'sorah b'negeya a certain thing. So why does it say es b'sorah? The Gemara darshans from that word es is to tell us that it even is osir b'hanoer, even the skin is osir, whatever, but it's extra. Even dover hatofel is b'sorah, something that's secondary to the meat. So we see the word es is secondary. When it says mokim iti, means that the mokim is iti, is bottled to the Eibishter, because the Eibishter is beyond mokim. So what does it mean that he wants to do the betachtenim down here, as if there's spaces, there's a second floor and a first floor, and he wants to be down here. It means in level. This world, the dark world, is the lowest world. The shofel, the madregen, the lowest madregen. Behind that means this world is the lowest of all the shtalshus leilumas, which basically means, what do we mean lower in the shtalshus? It starts off with Ein Sof, and then there is a shtalshus that gets lower and lower. The Eibishter made tzimtzumim and one tzimtzum, another tzimtzum, and as it gets more tzimtzum, that's called lower. It's not the pshat it's lower; it's someplace else. You can have in the same place two opposite madrega chassidus. I think in Teireh, the Rebbe brings that a raya that the Elamis and the Likus is not limited to Mokim. And when we say there's Atzilus and there's Bria and there's Asiya and there's Klippe, it's not in Mokim, it's not here or there. What it means is how much Gilui Likus there is. There's more Gilui Likus, that's Atzilus. The lowest Gilui Likus is Klippe. That's why he says there that it's possible to have Atzilus down here, standing, being within Dalad Amas of Imka Klippes. When Moshe Rabbeinu stood in front of Parei, Moshe Rabbeinu is Atzilus. Down here, Moshe Rabbeinu, his madrege of a Likus that he felt the Likus, Gila Likus is Atzilus. Parei was Imki Aklipis, and Moshe Rabbeinu was standing next to Parei, so it's Atzilus next to Imki Aklipis. So what it means is, it's not together Mokim, but together madrege, how much a Likus is felt there. So he says, this world is called the lowest, because there's the least Gila Likus. Since this is the end of Ishtalshel, means this is the lowest of all the tzimtzumim that the air changes to lower, to lower, to lower. This is the last. Therefore, to be masig Likus here is behested at tzimtzum gadol. Here it's very concealed. It's a great tzimtzum. And the darkness covers that. It means here is basically darkness. What does it mean basically darkness? It means basically there is no Gilui Likus here. So that's what we say. Dafke there, where there is no Gilui Likus at all, which is Tachtenim down here, that should be his Dira. And Gilui Likus is better, that should be his Gilui. To light up the Chesha. The darkest higher in this world is not really Chesha, so the Gilui that's there is not lighting up something that's dark. Mashenkin in this world where there's no Gilui, Gilui and Chesha are two opposites. Gilui means revealed, seen. Cheshach is darkness that you can't see. So there is a cheshach, and the Eibishter wants it should be Gilui Likus in this cheshach. How do you do that? The Torah mitzvahs. The Chaletz, the Torah mitzvahs. Kanegim, my Menazal, like we know, Pshat, in what the Chazal say, Yof, Eshoach, is the Tshuva, Maisim, Tevim, Be'el Mazeh, Mikol Chayel Mabo. That one moment of Tshuva, Maisim, Tevim, which goes basically on mitzvahs. That one moment of mitzvahs, Maisim, Tevim, in this world is greater than all of Chayel Mabo. Now, Chayel Mabo means higher elements, which Chayel Mabo means there's more Gilui Likus there. In this world, when you do a mitzvah in this world, in the world of Cheshach, so then you have more than all Chayel Mabo. Why? Because your mamshich more Gilui Likus. And you fulfill the Eibishter's Ratzon that he wanted in the dark place, there should be a Likus. And that happens to Torah mitzvahs. Now, Hine Am Shochas Dirazu V'Gilui Zeh. See, he started off this Maimer B'Negei Dira B'Tachtonim concerning the Mishkan. And he is explaining it not Dafke B'Negei the Mishkan. He's explaining it in Genei Torah mitzvahs. because it seems like he's going both ways, that Torah mitzvahs and the Mishkan go together. Because when it says that that means that when the Mishkan represents the Likus that's nimshach into every Yid, which is in the whole world, wherever Yidden is, wherever Yidden are, you're mamshach Likus. So therefore, he's explaining the end of the Mishkan being a dira betachtonim, and he explains it like a Torah mitzvahs. That when we do Torah mitzvahs, that's the Mishkan. That's what it says in the Basa Legani also. In the Basa Legani, when the Tavshin Yud and all the other Basa Leganis, it says that the union of Dir B'Tachtein Mishkan is the Mishkan, the Mikdash, and then it continues. And every year, Tzadikim, Amamshich, it's all the same meaning. So the whole idea of the Dir B'Tachtein means in a place where it's dark, meaning no Gilui Lakus, there should be Hamshocha Lakus. The Gilui is there, while you say this Kafya Sitracha Davke, that this Gilui, that we say such a great Gilui, even though it's in a dark place, comes to us is Kafya Sitracha, which is again the same hemshech like it says in the Basa Legani, that when you bend the Sitracha, Shahu Yitzhahara, which is the Yitzhahara, which costs of Zayir Daf Pasha Truman Daf Kuf Chavches, the same lotion of the Zayir he brings is in the Basa Legani, Kadis Kafya Sitracha, if you bend the Sitracha, is Talik Yikore de Kuchabricha La'ila Al Kula, then is Talik is Nimshech Kuchabricha, and there he explains what is the Pshat Istalik. Usually we think Istalik means to go away, Istalkus. But here it means paket. Istalik means it's nimshach. That you korah the kuchabrich, the covet of the Eibusha, which means the Gilui Lakus is nimshach. Down here, completely down here, when kadiskafer sitarachret. Why does he call it Istalik? So the Rebbe over there explains, because it's a hamshocha of such a eir, which is a b'tchines Istalkus. A eir which is so high, the Seviv Kalamim, which is so high, and that eir that's so high is nimshach down here through Torah mitzvahs. And then he goes in the second. First has to be iskafia that you bend the klippe. Then not only do you bend the klippe, but you change over, you transform the darkness to light. When we say you have to be iskafia sitrachra, what do you do to bend the sitrachra? So he says it means in all of the 5 senses. And he goes into become practical here. What does it mean? The simple way of iskafia sitrachra. And some people think, Amol used to be Chassidim called the iskafia, means something that's very gishmak, and so you don't eat it, you don't. Here he says iskafia very simple. Concerning looking. You close your eyes from looking and not seeing things which you're not allowed to see. Same thing with hearing, that you shouldn't hear things you're not allowed to hear. You shouldn't hear Lashon Hara, you shouldn't hear people pay, you shouldn't hear like that. Also, to make sure that your dibur and your ma'isa are the way you're supposed to, and change, fight the Yetzer Hara when he wants you to be differently. And also machshava, or midas hanefesh, and all the midas of the person. That you should make yourself holy, even things which are allowed. This is before he said to change the skafia eitzameid of bereis bera. So he was talking about things that you're not allowed to. But here he says even things that are mutter. Now he goes in the higher madregen to break the Yetzer Hara and things that you are allowed to, which that is a big machlekes rishonim. Is kadesh atzma mutter locha mitzvah or not? Some hold it's a mitzvah, question mitzvah that I said based on the pasuk Kedoshim Tiyu. The Ramban learns like that. That Kedoshim Tiyu means you should be holy. Even in your things which are mutter, you should be holy. And actually, Rashi doesn't learn like that. Rashi learns that Kedoshim Tiyu means prushim in arayis. And the arayis is the surim. But the way the Ramban learns, it means you should hold yourself, peirush, you should separate yourself from things which are allowed. That's kadosh atzma mutter. And when you do that, first you bend the Yetzer Hara in all these things. Then you get to change over. The 5 senses and the machshava shalei, and his machshava will be mamish keilel eirusover. Your own machshava will be a keilel eirusover. In other words, the machshava which normally you would use to do things which are not so, you transform that, and the machshava becomes a keila of a lakus, which is basically what the Gemara says in the Geya. Two basin, means Vishnei Tzerecha, that the Yetzer Hara also loves Hashem. So it's not a pshat. You don't let the Yetzer Hara bother you, stop you, interfere with your love of Hashem. So who loves Hashem? The Yetzer Tei, natural keys. Yetzer Hara might stop you, and you don't let him stop. That's his kafe. You're bending him, you're pushing him away. But here he says the Yetzer Hara should make that your chushim, which you want you to have a chush in certain things which are not good, you change it over. That becomes the chush of the Yetzer Hara becomes to do for akela for ein sof. That's why in the Pasuk it says concerning Yidden, it says, Heichal Hashem Heimel. And the Yidden are the Heichal of Hashem. Pirush, Heichal Havaya. We become a Heichal of Shem Havaya. And he's going to go, what does he change to Shem Havaya? Because he's going to explain how the mitzvahs have to do with Shem Havaya. So, Yidden are called Heichal Havaya. The Hainu. Why are Yidden called Heichal Havaya? In mitzvahs leisas, Tluyim Shem Havaya. Because the mitzvahs that we do is connected to Shem Havaya. Mitzvahs mitzvahs leisas. Which of course of the common, he'll explain it later more by Ruches. Mitzvah sese is bevovke, and mitzvah sleise is beyutke. Mitzvah sese connected to the second half of Shem Havaya, the bevovke, and mitzvah sese connected to the yutke. Lochai nagdi kiyum mitzvah sese v'leisese. When you do the mitzvah sese v'leises, nasim chedes heichel v'keiler legilui Shem Havaya mamish. You become a heichel and the keiler to gilui Shem Havaya. Mamish the union of Shem Havaya. This is the type Shechanti B'Seichel. Who's the me? Who's the Shechanti? I. That's Eibishter, which is Shem Havaya. So the Shem Havaya is Nimshach down here through Mitzvah Sesem and Mitzvah Sleitzah. Course of the Pekudei, as he will explain it soon in this pasuk. So what he's explaining now is the union of Iskafi, and then you get to Ishapche, and then you become a Heichel to the Eibish, and that's the union of the Shechina, and that's Shechina Dira B'Tachtein. It's there in Yemaimer Azal, Hasidim, Tzadikim, Shemer, Lufneim Kodesh. In the future, we're going to say Kodesh to the Tzadikim. Now we only say Kodesh Havaya. We can't say Kodesh to a person. We don't say Kodesh to a Tzadik. When Mashiach will come, we will say Kodesh to the Tzadikim. Which means, Be'etzem, where it says, it's not after Tzadikim, what we call Tzadikim, goes on all the Yidden. Because V'amich Kulam Tzadikim. Be'etzem is that, not only because V'amich Kulam Tzadikim, even if you're not a Tzadik, you're like a Tzadik, every Yid is a Tzadik. Then they will take it tzaddikim. Every Yid will do tshuva. Every Yid is going to be a tzaddik. Pasha kipshut. His aveda, his dargi will be a dargi of a tzaddik. So they say kodesh to him. What if Pshat saying kodesh to a tzaddik? Saying kodesh to a human being? I know mishum shadi teire mitzvahs because teire mitzvahs amshich mal nafshim gilui eirei sof. Because through teire mitzvahs they bring upon themselves the gilui of eirei sof. Ma'ashahu b'chinas kodesh imu. Eirei sof is kodesh. Kodesh havaya. So if a person has in himself, the union of Shem Havaya, you could say Kodesh to him, because it's not him, it's really to the Shem Havaya. And lost in Lovek, that's going to be by everybody. Now, talking for Tzadikim, you could see some Tzadikim are so great that they represent Shem Havaya. That's why, I imagine, that's why Rabbi said, Man Pnei Odin Havaya, says that you should come to see the Pnei Odin Havaya. Who's Pnei Odin Havaya? Do Rabbi. Shad Rabbi is Havaya. The premise I always mention is that the Rebbe in Ha'orim, when the Mamorim, Rebbe writes, Re'isi Bale Nigle Makshim al Zeh, Ubarash. I saw Bale Nigle making the whole tumult on this. Meaning like Rashbi said, I'm Hashem, I'm the Shnevish. What kind of thing is that? The Rebbe says, Aval Mefurish Kigon Do, Nigle B'Teire, we find in Yerushalmi. It says, V'Havaya B'Eichel Kodshay, and the Posik, V'Havaya B'Eichel Kavaya is in the Seichel, Do, Rabbi Yitzchak Kisrin. When Rabbi Yitzchak said he's Shiva in Kisrin, that's Taich Davish that is Kisrin. So we see the same, mamish the same thing. Very much I don't even know what their kasha is, because Moshe Rabbeinu, we call Moshe Rabbeinu Ish Olakim. Ish Olakim, he's a godly man. He's a godly man. He's a man. A man is not God. Elamai Pshat is that because you have a Sofen union and it's Begilui, so when that's Begilui, then you could say Kodesh even to the Tzadik, even to the person who says, because he has Mitzvah Sesem, Mitzvah Leisah, which is Shem Havaya, and Shem Havaya is Shem Havaya Kodesh, and you have Lochein, Neked, Gimel, Pomim, Kodesh, Naimer Aleim, Heichel Havaya, Heima Gimel, Pomim. That's why, since we're saying that the Yidden become, that they have Gimel Shem Havaya in them, that's why you could say Kodesh, and that's, so when it says, Losigov, they're going to say Kodesh to the Tzadikim, it's the same 3 times Kodesh as you say to the Eibishter, because really when you say it to the Tzadik, you're really saying it to the Eibishter, because it's the Eibishter that's in him. So therefore, when it says Heichel Havaya Heima, that the Yidden are the Heichel in which Hashem is, they're the house of Hashem. Hashem lives in that house, means in every Yid. It says 3 times, because there's 3 times Kodesh, I could say. Remember, this is a little bit connected to what it says in the famous Maimer in Pekudei of Nikdashti. Small Maimer in Nikdashti Parashat where small Maimer the Alter Rebbe explains why do you have to stand up for a person who's Mekayim a mitzvah. Just Shaila is exactly what does that mean. Every time you see a person do a mitzvah, you stand up. But that's what it says, you stand up in a person. And the reason he says is because if you have a Talmud Chacham, you have to stand up, because if he has Torah in him, and Torah is Havaya, so he has Havaya. So you're not standing up for him, you're standing up for the Torah. And he explains now, behind the Gimel Pchinis Lavusha Nefesh Mechshava Dibra Ma'aseh Shebhem Tluyin Kol HaMitzvos. And the reason there's three, because since we're saying we become Shem Havaya in us because of the mitzvah sesa, mitzvah leisesa, and mitzvahs, to do mitzvahs is connected to Machshava Dibra Ma'aseh. That's the Ma'aseh mitzvahs, not midas. It's the Ma'aseh mitzvahs upeil. So therefore, since we said that the Shem Havaya is in a yid because of the mitzvahs, that's why it's three, because there are three ways to be kind of mitzvah. Now let's skip the parentheses. This is the dir b'tachtonim. Sheyu hanashom es nasim beil mazeh beguf davke kela lepchinas kodesh mugdol. That the Yidden become the neshama. Says the Yidden while they're in the guf, the way the Yidden are down here, they become a kela for the pina of dusha, which is kodesh mugdol. Like it says bekir b'cha kodesh. See Poshav Shat, it says that the Eibishter, which is amongst you, is kodesh. But the way it teaches here, the kirba kodesh means that the kodesh is inside you. Al derech man, I just give an example. Like it says, "Kel zora shebekirbacha," which means the avodah zarah. That's amongst Yidden and amongst people. There could be avodah zarah. See, this always teaches the goy shebekirbacha, not the goy that lives among you. The goy that's inside you. See, here he also teaches the kodesh that's bekirbacha. The kodesh that's in every Yid. When you do mitzvah sesam, it's like say you are kodesh. You have the kodesh of kodesh havai in you. This is the seichom, not only the mishkan, it's the seichom. This all happens as it starts, I said before. Later it becomes iskafia, but first it's iskafia of sitra achra, you bend the sitra achra, which is sur meran aseitev. Now sur meran aseitev is mitzvah seseh, mitzvah leiseh. Mitzvah eseh is aseitev, mitzvah leiseh, keep mitzvah leiseh is sur meran. Through this, you become Kodesh Havai, you become the Kodesh Havai is big. We have to understand the reason. Why is it so? That when you bend the Sitrach, that's when the Gilui and the Sof comes. In other words, if we say that, it means that there is a concept of Sitrach, and the Eibishter Kivyochel Bet Mispol, he doesn't like the Sitrach. So if you do something like breaking the Sitrach, oh, the Eibishter says, oh, you did a very good job, and I'm very happy. What's the pshat? It's Sitrach is Tepes Mokim. Sitrach is not Tepes Mokim at all. Kiyadua. Because Shmom is B'yidayim Tetapes, it's a posik, which means that you could touch the end of the posik, it doesn't bring it. The posik is like this. Shmom is B'yidayim Tetapes, V'hi B'hechle Melech. Shmom is a white spider web. Where do you find the spider web? In the Heichel of the king. Why in the Heichel of the king? The Heichel of the king is such a place where people, what they care about over there is important matters. There you run the country. Don't look and see there's a spider web in the corner. No one cares about that. So what do we see from here? That like a spider web, which in this case would represent Klippe, is there. We don't care about it. It doesn't matter if it's there. So why would they wish to care if there's Sitra Achra? And if you bend the Sitra Achra, something's going to happen. That's when I'm going to be Magala Ma'alakus. What's the reason for it? What's the reason? It's almost similar to what Moshe Rabbeinu said to David about the Chet Egel. When David said to Moshe, I'm going to basically destroy the Eden. So the Moshe said to David, Klum, why do you care about that they worship at the Zorah? You care about the Zorah? A Gibber cares about what another Gibber does. Oh shit. Like you care about it. So what's up with the Zorah in the gate? Who cares? Forget about it. It's nothing. So that's what he's asking. So why is David care that you should bend the Zorah, bend the Klippe? Explain that. First, explain what is the shayrish of the singing of doing positive mitzvahs and doing negative mitzvahs. No, it says in Tikkun Zayar, there's a posik that says, it's a posik in Shmeis. This is my name forever. Zeh Zichri, and this is my remembrance. And the posik finishes of Zeh Zichri l'deir v'deir. So it mentions Zeh Shmi and Zeh Zichri. So Tikkun Zayar says like this: Shmi im Yudkei, Shmi together with Yudkei is Shasa, places it's 365. Shmi is 350, and another Yudkei, which is 15, becomes 365. So the 365 places have to do with Shem Yudkei. And Vovkei im Zichri, the word Zichri, together with Vovke is Reish Mem Ches. It's 248 mitzvahs. So the Tikkun Zeir connects the mitzvahs Leisese to Yudke and the mitzvahs Ese to Vovke. Now we always know in the Yudke Lamaylam Kunas Vovke. We know that the first half of Shem Havaya, Yudke is higher than the second half, the Vovke. The Raya is Shara Yudke is Shabifnei Atzmei. Yudke is a name of the Eibishter. Ko. Vovke is not a name. So that shows that Yudke is a higher Madrege. And this is the reason why the Yudke comes before the Vovke. Could have been the opposite. Could have been Vovke then Yudke. Because the Yudke is higher. No, it's the letter that's first is higher. So we see Yudke is connected to mitzvahs loisese and Vovke to mitzvahs. Gam, another raya that Yudke is great, so greater than Vovke. Pirush Yehei Shmei Rabo. When we say Omen, and then you say Yehei Shmei Rabo. So Yesh Meforshim, some say that the word Yehei, what's Yehei? Yehei is Yudke, Shem Yudke Rabo. That Shem Yudke, the Yudke is Rabo. That's great. That's the greatest. That's not in Chassidus. That's Pashut Meforshim on Kaddish. They say, what is the pshat? Amen Yehei Shmei Rabo. There's different pshatim. Is we're saying a fact or we're asking about kosher. But the word is Yehei is Yudke is the Shmei Rabo. Oh, he says like it. You didn't realize it. It says in Tur, Mishkosa B'Tur Arachaim Reish Siman Nun Vov. So we see that Yudke is higher. Yudke is the Shmei Rabo. So between the two, Yudke Vovke, Yudke is higher. Mishkosa Gamkin Binyan Nistoros Lavaya Lekeinu. It says Nistoros Lavaya Lekeinu Vanigleis Lonul Vaneinu. So it says Hanistoros goes on Yudke and Hanigleis goes on Vovke. And the way we see it is V'Hanigleis is Vov K Nigleis. The word V'Hanigleis is Vov K Nigleis. So the Nigleis, Vov K is more Begilui, and Nistoros, which is more Behelim, is Yudke. Which means, sometimes we say that if the Likus is Behelim, that means it's a lower Madrege. That's what we said before, that the Likus is Behelim, lower Madrege. What it means here is sometimes we say a Likus is Behelim because it's so high that it's higher than Gilui. That's what it is here. So Nistoros, which means the hidden things, I feel in Poshav Shah, the hidden things which people don't know, secrets. Then Nicholas is open things. Posik is talking about how much responsible a Yid is for another year. In this Posik, we learn out the union of Arvis. One Yid is Orav. And the Posik says that you're Orav only for the Nicholas, not for the Nistoris. Something that a Yid does the Gila, you have to protest. Yeah, if it's bad, you have to stop him. But not something that's hidden, because hidden is something deeper. That you can't know. But in Chassidus, we say that the union of Nistoris goes on Shem Havai, and Yudke, and Nicholas goes on Vovke. So again, showing that Yudke is higher. He said Yudke with Shmi is together is mitzvah slices shasa. So we said that Yudke is higher, and the word Shmi is also higher than the word Zichri. Shmi means my name. Zichri is only a remembrance. It's like a nickname, I would say, something to remember the person. Gemuk mashkosa b'gemara, sof pei gimel de psochim. Gemara Psochim, there it says that the Eibishter's name we're not allowed to say, but we could say something else. But every time it's Shem Havaya, we don't say it. That's the hidden. Yes, Shmi La'olam, Shmi La'olam, and La'olam Ksiv, as if it would say La'olam, which means hidden, and that goes on Shem Havaya. And then the way we do pronounce it is Adnai, which is lower Madrege. That's Zichri. Akaponim, from all this we see that Havaya is higher than the Yudke is higher than Vovke. It's the Leisa says Yudke, mitzvah says Vovke. In Kain Aleisa says Hem Gevei, mitzvah says. That's why mitzvah Leisa says higher mitzvah says. The Loch and over al mitzvah says Vishov. The person is able and Avera mitzvah says, and as soon as he does tshuva, he's also Shemat Shemechlei. Eibish is Meichel on the spot. The Gemara says. Brought down in the beginning, get us a tshuva. Shenk him mitzvah Leisa says, Teil tshuva Teil mitzvah Leisa. No, tshuva does not help yet. You got to wait for Yom Kippur. In other words, it's higher. So why is it for mitzvahs leisas tshuva not enough? Because the hamshoche of mitzvahs leisas is a higher madrege. So if you're aver on it, you're aver on something worse, something. So it's a worse thing. Ubemela, you got to do a higher level of tshuva. So here we're saying that mitzvahs leisas is higher. It's part of Yudke. It's a pel. Chura is a pel. It says, "And you only feel gam shachas lekus al de ma'isa zuder machbik ma'isa zuder." Mitzvah says, "We're mamshach lekus through an act. You're doing something, and that ma'isa put on film is mamshach lekus. The machbik good and the mach even the malka. Every mitzvah, it says 248 mitzvahs, it's 248 limbs of the Eibishter. You connect this. So you mamshech hamshocha. How are you mamshech? You do something. There's nothing that you do. We're not doing, at this moment that we're sitting here learning, we are not doing 365 leises. Now, we're not Shabbos, and we're not lying, and we're not eating chazer, all the leises. You're sitting in not even an Aveda, that's all it is. How can that be greater than when you do an act? This is not an act, and this should be greater. The emphasis the Gemara does say on this inyan of Yeshev and Ein Eiver Aveda is the Gemara says is only when do you say Schar Kilos Mitzvah only Bo Aveda Liyodei. If the Aveda comes to your hand and you're able to do it, and you don't, that's when it is. But even then, the kasha is still a kasha. Sof kol sof. How did you keep that mitzvah? By sitting back and not doing. About it was an effort. So the Aveda came to you and gave you a piece of chazer and it looks like tastes good. You had to put an effort not to eat it. So you did do some effort, but you didn't do an act. So of course you didn't do an act. But doing an act is something stronger than not doing an act. Actually, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but Pel Mamesh, we find that in Tanya, it comes out like that. In Tanya, in Ageras HaTshuvah, he says, why is Ese Doicha Leisese? Why is an Ese push away a Leisese? It says, because Ese is stronger than a Leisese. So it fits to the Kasha here. A Maise is stronger than not a Maise. So therefore, Ese Doicha Leisese. That's what he's asking. But why is it that Leisese is higher? Demis is, in Gemara in Yevomes, the Gemara says the Gabe Ese Doicha Leisese. So it says if it's a Leisese, sheyesh b'kores, the Ese is not Doicha. The Ese is Doicha, the Leisese that's Tama Leisese, but Leisese yesh b'kores not. And the Gemara, why? Because that Leisese is very strong. So such a strong Leisese, the Ese doesn't push away. And the Gemara asks, what do you mean? Well, who cares? I feel it by a regular Leisese. Lav leises a chomer manei. Isn't leises a stronger chomer than a mitzvah? And nevertheless, the mitzvah is doiche. So who cares if it's a leises sheyes b'koros? So it's stronger. It's stronger anyway. And nevertheless, the is doiche. The Gemara answers that in all kinds of years. So we see from that lashon of the Gemara also that the leises is stronger, which fits to the fact that it says here that the leises is higher. But we have to understand the leises is without a ma'ase, and the ma'ase is greater. Actually, there is a Ramban. The Ramban on Parshas Yisrei, where the Pasuk says, Zocher Esim HaShabbos, on that Pasuk there's a Ramban, and the Ramban says, we have two things, we have Zocher and Shomer. Zocher is the Ese, Shomer is the Leis Ese, and he says, the Ese is stronger than the Leis Ese. And he says, V'lochein Ese Teichel Leis Ese, because Ese is stronger, which is a kasha on the Ramban, from that Gemara. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, the Kiviger, in the Gilyon Hashas, on that Gemara in Yevomes, where the Gemara says, Leis Chomer Manei, quotes Ayin Ramban and Parshas Yisrael. I don't know if he says we're Tzarechim, but it seems the opposite. But we understand the kasha here. The kasha here is, why do we say Leis is stronger when it's Anamaisa? So it's not mamshich anything. You're just sitting back and not doing it. Afainyan, the answer is, Adarabe. Hi hanei senes. Because there is no Maisa, that's why it's mamshich ayin amshocha. Very interesting shot. The fish, since the leises comes from such a high madrege, from the madrege of Yudke, which is higher than Ese, which is Vovke, al kain ein lehem kelim lamata al yidei sheval taisa. There's no act that you could do here should be mamcha such a high amshocha. An act is a limited thing. You do this, you do that, it's limited. Not doing is not limited. We are sitting now not doing anything. I'm not eating and I'm not sleeping and I'm not walking. I'm not doing all the things. There's no limit to being not doing. There's a limit to doing. If I did one thing, so when it's a lower madrege, so it still has a certain limit. So then it's nislavish in a kele, and the kele is this act that you have to do. But when it's a higher thing, then you can't be nislavish in a kele. That's why it's how are you mamshechit? Not to doing it. That's the Schapiro. It says, but again, Midbar is called the Eretz Loy Zarua, a land that's not planted. But the way the Alter Rebbe teaches, Loy Zarua, the Loy is planted. You plant the no. Shazriya upchinas Loy. You're planting. Just like we're saying, hamshacha means you're bringing when you plant something, you're mamshich that it should grow. But how are you planted? So normally it's through a ma'aseh. But here he says there's hainu b'kiyam b'chinas loy. By keeping lehainu shmiras mitzvahs loisase. When you do zehu mamshich b'chinas asher liyoshev adam sham. Talks about he doesn't touch just the psukim, but that's what it says. It says by a midbar. What's a midbar? Eretz loy zarua and asher liyoshev adam sham. Now, loy zarua, as he said, means the zarua is a loy. How do you plant it? By not doing. And your mamshich from a level loy yoshev adam sham. That's a madrege l'mayla b'chinas es mitzvah shem b'chinas adam. Mitzvah says is called Odom. Why? Because Ramach Eiver in the Malka. We say Mitzvah Ramach Mitzvah Ramach Eiver in the Malka. So it's a Rem is like something that's a person, and this is Lei Odom Yoshev Odom Shom. Now I want to explain that usually whenever we bring these psukim Ashalei Zerua, Ashalei Yoshev Odom Shom, we bring it opposite. I said this a lot of times. We can bring the same pasuk sometimes touch it like this, something like that. Usually we touch it opposite. We want to show that the midbar represents a place that there is no Gilui Lukus, a place that no one lives there. What's that? No one Yoshev Odom Shom. The Yoshev Adam Shom means Adam goes on the Adam Ha'elyon. There's a pasuk that says, Musakisit Muskamar Adam. The fruit of the Eibush, there's a mashal, we use the word Adam. Le Yoshev Adam Shom means it's a place where there's no Eibush there. I mean, the Likus is not the Gilui there. That's the mitzvah. So it always has a difference between a Ir and a Soda and a Midbar. A Ir is where people live. That's a settled place. That's a place of a Likus. Midbar represents a place that there's no, you don't plant there, lei zarua, you don't plant there, and you don't lei yosh. Even Beruchni is with Taich, that it's lei yosh Adam Shom. But sometimes it says that there's two dargas. There is a darga of lei Adam, kilei Adamu. It says on the Eibishter, kilei Noch, kilei Adamu. So there it means the opposite. The Eibishter, you can't refer to him as Adam, even though we mean a moshel. But to use the word Adam is a hagbola. The Eibishter completely beyond that. So here in this Maimer, another Mamorim also, he teaches when it says in Posik there is Lei Zarua, Lei Yoshev Adam Shom, means there is no Adam there, meaning it's a darga higher than Adam. So Mitzvah says is connected to the level of the Eibishter that could be referred to as Adam. And there's a darga beyond that, that's Kilei Adam, Lei Yoshev Adam Shom, that's a higher Madrig. And that's what he says. If it's Lei Zarua, if your planting is through Lei, that means you're doing a mitzvah which is Lei by not doing any Amaiseh. That's where your mamshah is high madrega at Li Yoshev Adam Shom. It's higher than the mitzvah says. Now, the Yuvin's so Bemis, he explained it already. How is it possible that by not doing a ma'aseh it should be higher hamshach? He says it's such a high hamshach that you cannot be mamshach through ma'aseh because ma'aseh is mugbul. This is by not doing. There's no agbola. There's nothing that you did, and that's how you mamshach. That means if you do the not, the tzarech mitzvah, you're doing not time because I didn't. Guy didn't need chazer, he didn't like it, or he's not here. He didn't need chazer. That's not a ma'aseh, but it's a mitzvah that's mamshach hamshachad that's done not through an act. But he now explains it more. First, explain what's the meaning of mitzvah sesa. Shehem ramach ever in the malka. These are the 240 limbs of the Eibishter. Shasa leisa say shasa gidin shebehen madar, and the leisa say is the gidin. What's the Gidim? The Gidim are the veins, the arteries, I don't know how you call it. That their job is, we know what the job of a limb is. Limb, a hand moves his hand, and then the foot walks. And what's the job? What's the union of the Gidim? That's the dam. Okay. Then he quotes a line of Maram Kevis. Peter Averim. Now, based on that, we'll see the Chilik in Averim and Dam. We'll see the different mitzvahs and mitzvahs. Averim is al derech mashla Aver, ukela l'chayis hanefesh and lubash bay. Aver is a place that is something that's a kele to the chayis. It's alive. Obviously, we're talking about a hand that's alive. For instance, a hand that's alive. And the life comes from the nefesh. Where else does it live from? Not from the body. The body itself can't live. It comes from the nefesh. But it's a kele, the hand, the physical hand is a kele that the chayis hanefesh should come in. There's a head, there's a brain. It's a physical thing. That is a keach of the nefesh that's malubish in the physical brain. Okay, that's the union of Eiver. It says, explains, that's not the nefesh itself, it says in Tanya. In the Eiverim come in a gilui, a ha'ore from the nefesh. There's the nefesh itself, and from the nefesh, geit arus, different, it spreads itself out, and it comes into the Eiverim of the person. The ila nefesh atzmo, because the nefesh itself, you can't say divided. The nefesh is a nakuda which is beyond his chalkus, beyond his pashtas. When we have the word of the Baal Shem, the kol etzem bilti mischale, kol etzem bilti mispashet, it's an atzmazdike thing which is not mispashet. So you can't say that the nefesh itself comes into the hand, the nefesh itself comes into the eyes and into the brain. It won't be. That means that there's a nefesh is divided into many halakim. The nefesh is a nakuda, but from the nefesh come ores that come into the averim. The gama gilui memenu meir mislabish b'meichin, and the gilui of the nefesh comes into the meichin. From even in the meyach, which is the source of all. So one might think that in the meyach you have the etzem. From the meyach the chayes goes the ha'ores. It's not so. There's a nefesh which is beyond even what's in the meyach. Even in the meyach, which is the top and the mokir of everything, it's also only ha'ore. There is an etzem and nefesh be'etzem that's even beyond even getting mislavish in the meyach. It's not to get any slapshes. Ha'ore from the nefesh itself goes into the meyach, and from that meyach goes a ispashtes into all the averim. Every aver takes whatever fits to that aver. The hand takes its thing and the brain its thing. That's what it says in Tanya, that the union of the aver means that it's a hamshocha, ha'ora of the nefesh. But we still understand ha'ora, that even though it's only ha'ora, but this ha'ora is not a ha'ora which is removed from the nefesh. Like ha'ora saying it's something that shined, and the shine now became an entity of itself. It's always connected to the mokeh. It's one. Basically, it's the nefesh. What he wants to say, two sides here. All the keiches of the nefesh are separate keiches, and the separate ha'ora. And at the same time, it is united with the nefesh. It's not separated from the nefesh. Sha nefesh hi hamaskeles b'seichel shebemeach. It's not the pshat that the nefesh is removed from the meach. And the meach is a pshat of the nefesh, is made in the meach of things. The nefesh itself, we could say, the nefesh is the one that understands the meach. V'hi hamedaberes. The nefesh is the one that talks. Ubi stalus stalek a nefesh me'aguf, when the nefesh goes away from the guf, mistalkin kolach keiches shoyim shachem ben the all the keiches go away. You might think if it's a separate entity, then when the nefesh goes away, so maybe the keiches should remain somehow. It's not something that is disconnected. It is always connected with the me'ach. In that guf, obviously, it says that there are dargis and how connected it is. Here it says on everything that it's it says a loshen hoylach hodim mamish, but still there's a chilik. It says l'mosh afilu machshava di bermaise. Machshava is more meyuchad than the nefesh. The raya that is that machshava is meshaitetes tomid. There's no such thing as a second a person shouldn't be thinking. There could be a second you don't talk, second you don't do anything, but machshava always works. And it says in Chassidus why? Because machshava is so meyuchad in the nefesh. It's just like the nefesh is every second, and there's no such thing as a moment that the nefesh is not there and then it comes back. Same thing with machshava. But still, even though machshava is veiled more, but it's by everything that a person has, any kayach is meyuchad with the nefesh. Harimovim sha'keiches va'achayes sheberamach eiver mesaltim am nefesh mamish. That the keiches that in every part of every eiver is mamish meyuchad with the nefesh. Im kol zeh sheichnin kol echad lekele meyuchad kol echad vech lifnei atzmei v'yas orem v'yes ma'orem nefesh. On the other hand, since it is only ha'oreh, it's in every one is in it's a different part. Only a part, eiver which is fit to that chiluk of the nefesh. That's the gashmistic part of eiver. He wants to use this as a mashal to understand what's the inyan of mitzvah sesed. The kach even al derech mashal amayle inyan amach eiver in the malka. When say mitzvah sesed is rach eiver in the malka, it's the same thing. Shahu kemaim you do that fits to what it's known. It says in Zayar, iyu v'chayei echad, iyu v'gamei echad. Which means chayei goes on the eirin sof, garmei goes on the kelim, it goes on elam atzilis. That even though there is eirin sof and there's kelim, and we're talking about atzilis. Atzilis is already a netzal. There is the maitzil. Just like we say there's a beir and there's a nivre, that's in the lower madregas of bria. But in the madrega of atzilis, you have a maitzil and a netzal. So the maitzil is completely beyond all these spheres. The spheres start from chochmah atzilis, and then bina atzilis. There gufa you have the eir and you have the kelim. So it says iyu v'chayei echad, that the maitzil and the chayei, which is the eris of Esespheres, are very united. They're one. Iver gamei echad means that the kelim of Atzilus are also one. The chayei hu ha'eir v'chayis hanimshach min sof baruch hu. Chayei goes on the Eir V'Chayes that comes from Yisod Baruch Hu Liyas Mishlabish V'Pchinas Chesed, to be Mislabish in the Spheres, for instance, Chesed or Gvura or the other Spheres. And that's why Chesed Nikro Dreya. Chesed is called the hand, an Eiver. So it has to fit to the Moshel as we said in Eiverim. Just like we say that the hand has a chayas that's nimshach from the moker, and then it becomes a hand, but it's still united. The same thing here also. There is the Eir HaPosher, the Eir Sof, which is higher than the spheres. Like the Etzem HaNefesh, which is higher from the chayas that comes into every Eir. And nevertheless, they're connected. The Lav, we call it immediacy klal. The Eir, beyond that Silas, is not together. The Eir is much lower than that. And nevertheless, the Eir that's Nimshach and Atzilis is meyuchat with the moker where it comes from. So it's one. So the Eir Sof of Sfiras HaChesed, which is like the chayas in the hand, is one with the moker, just like the chayas in the hand is one with the Etzem HaNefesh. She'eir v'chayezeh meyuchat b'mkeirei Yisod Baruch is meyuchat with the moker, which is Yisod. Kanal b'moshel, like we said in the moshel, is achdas hachayas she'ba'eir b'mkeirei Etzem HaNeshama. The moker, which everything comes from, is the Etzem HaNeshama, and then is nimsha from that something ha'ora into the hand or in every part of the body, and nevertheless it's all one. That's the Ish'ir v'chayei echad l'mayla. That the Eir Sof that's nimshach already into the spheres is really only ha'ora from the level beyond that, and nevertheless it's miyuchad. So it's mamish like a neighbor. That's what the inyan of Yivchayei echad. Then we have gam iver gam meichad. Even with the midah already, which is the sphere, it's also meyuchat betachlis. The sphere of chesed and the sphere of gvura, etc., is meyuchat with the moker. So that's the pshat. When we say, when we do a mitzvah, there is Ramach mitzvah says it. So we have Ramach, Ki'ilu the Eivish, there's Ramach Eivirim, how we're mamsheh this Eir v'chayis. We're mamshechet that we should have, since the Mailat's Iva Chayei Echad, Iva Gamei Echad. But down here it's not. And we want to be mamshe that madrege down here, while they Ramach mitzvah. That's what, since that's what is Poshet Taichin is whenever we learn Chassidus that Ramach mitzvahs are Ramach Eber in the Malka, this is the beer. The beer is because it's exactly like an Eber. Because what we're doing is we're mamshech the Eir and Sof from the Moker, which is like the Etzem HaNefesh coming into the Eber. This is coming into the Eber. But that comes through every time you do a mitzvah says. Ayidei tzedakah u'gemilas chasodim nimsheh b'chnas chesed rei yemina. If you do tzedakah and chasodim, which is mitzvahs of yemin, of kindness, you're mamshich the level of the sphere of chesed l'mayla. By the key mitzvahs dinim, when you do the mitzvah of dinim, which is harshness, nimsheh b'gvura drei yismola. So comes the amshach of gvura. The same thing with other things. The person conquers his Yitzhahara, Shugamkim b'chinas gvura, which is also good. It's a fight. You have to fight and conquer the Yitzhahara. Who's a giver? So your mom should be good. And that's the pshat that the mitzvahs esse are ramach Averim the Malka, because they are similar to Averim, and therefore they're called Averim L'mayla, the Hamshochim to the Spheres. Should we stop now? We always stop 5 minutes before, so.
Oh, okay.
We'll do it too. Okay.
All right, thank you, Rabbi Schapiro.
It says, Kalkavasenu Zut Kalkavasenu. Never do we have a shir on Shabbos Mevorch.
It's true.
And today, which had we gone to shir, we wouldn't have a shir.
How about a quick question? Listen
to the shayla if everybody else wants.
Okay, then they can sign off. Sense of smell. We said, hey, chushias. How does we do a schapiro with the sense of smell?
Why not?
I don't know. What do you don't go to smell something? And what's the advantage? What's the problem? What's the tumor? What's the isser?
Now, the Rebbe said that the chush reyach is not about taiva. The Rebbe said
it's not about taiva to begin with. So why do you?
Someone gave him a present, a tabak pushkele, a tabak thing.
Yeah. We all.
Ein chush. There's one part, no, not one aver in the person is not about taiva. That's the nose. Now the chat is not about taiva. It's a different way. It's not about taiva automatically, but you could do bad things with your smell. It says in Shulchan Aruch certain things you can't smell Rabbi Dezorah. You might not have a taiva to it, but there isn't a if it belongs. If it's k'teiros for Rabbi Dezorah to smell, But it says, in simple words, when the Gemara says it, if you have a Isha Zaina and she has a good, nice smell, you're not allowed to smell. You're not allowed to. So there is such a thing. Elamai, it's not like other taivas. A person has a taiva to eat something that tastes good. He has a taiva other things. That's what it means.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Good
so,
Shabbos.
thank you. Good Shabbos. Whoever for bringing Shabbos.
The Shabbos.
Shkaya.
Yeah? Going on?
Stay well. Be healthy.
So everyone has to have some herring.
Time.
With the kichel or without the kichel?
You could have it with the kichel if you want also. Whatever you want. Okay, good.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos, good Chodesh.
It should be only Surah status.
Amen.
We should all have nachas from our children. We should be only brachas.
Amen.
Say something.
Rabbi.